It's hard making YouTube videos. Not gonna lie, especially for Runeterra.
No,
I think it's hard because you want to make really, really good content.
I'm gonna disagree.
Why?
I think making the videos is pretty easy. You know what's hard? Working a full-time job, having family responsibilities,
Well, yeah.
and making Runeterra videos. That's
True.
hard AF.
True.
That's hard. Because making a decent video could take you 3 or 4 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, by the way, you have to like play Runeterra as well.
Yeah.
Like, I play so much less Runeterra now than I used to because when did you start this podcast?
I started the stream, but I haven't started the
Because
podcast yet.
every Tuesday, right? The time I usually dedicate to playing, I'm casting a tournament. Then Wednesday,
Facts.
we have the pre-podcast like meeting, and then the podcast, and then I go to bed. And then on Thursdays, I never play anyway. It's like just family time for me. And then, so now I have like Fridays and Mondays and Saturdays and Sundays to play, when I used to play like every day. So it's just...
It's a little bit
And
more
then-
difficult for you to play.
Yeah. And if I was trying to make videos on top of that, when would I actually play the game? I could. I have a job. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, nah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot.
I mean, you're there for all of it too, right? Like,
I mean, honestly, I've been trying to like somehow figure out time to make videos, but it's just been hard because it's like I've been setting up like every single week for the tournaments, right? And to be honest, well, I don't know. Can I say this on stream? I don't know. Anyways, it's probably a hot take. Whatever. I have no idea how Mastering Runeterra sets up for a daily Runeterra tournament. Honestly,
so they have a guy who's like a saint who volunteers his time every day.
for real?
Yeah, Gregory the Grey. Because I'm a part of the tournament team on their Discord, or not tournament team, but like competitive player people. Anyone who wants to could just like hit the button and join it. So I get all the notifications. And it's the same guy every day. He's like, all right, this we got going. And I don't think they broadcast it. It's just like a tournament that they put on.
Oh, okay. They don't broadcast it. Okay.
Yeah, so they have like someone else doing all the admin stuff for them, making sure everything's going smoothly, and they're not broadcasting it. Like right now, I'm looking at my Twitch, and Majin Bay is playing Elden Ring, and Jason Ferrant is playing in the tournament. So like, it's not those two guys doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, also I will always shout out Mastering Runeterra. They do this full time, like professionally, which is great that they get to put out so much content that they're able to do.
Facts.
Unfortunately, we're not there yet. Not there yet.
Yeah, we try to ascend, right? We try to ascend to these levels.
We've ascended to the point where it seems like we don't have to actively spend our own money anymore,
which is dope. I'm happy.
It's actually insane. I'm beyond happy with that. Like,
because at least we can put on a tournament for everybody to enjoy, and we don't have to spend our money on it, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, it's so nice that we've kind of built that community that we can now do that.
Yep.
I mean, ideally, it would continue to grow into something that we could, profit off of. That'd be nice. At least to regain our losses.
But
at the very least, I mean, I'm proud of what we've accomplished in the last. Since when did we start? I think we said 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So
like 6 months and a half.
October.
Yes. October.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, who knows where we'll be in another 6 months? Maybe we'll be like doing our commentary from a yacht in the middle of the ocean. But I mean, at least for now, we're not actively like draining our own pockets, which is nice. Not making anything, not profiting. I have an extra $0 in my bank account from this, but it's not negative, right? And we take those.
Yeah, now we take those W's wherever we can. So what are we gonna talk about today on the podcast? You said we're gonna talk about roadmap. Let's talk about some. Let's have a tournament TED talk. We can kind of like you said earlier. We can recap. We can't really 100% say something about. You know what I'm talking about. But we can
an announcement of an announcement.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know what? You know what we can do? We can do the riot announcement, right? We could say we have a big announcement, but then edge them until April. Boom.
We think we actually have something you'd like to. All right.
You gotta edge them. You gotta be like, all right. I think we might have an announcement, and then post something on Twitter saying we might have an announcement if you show up, and then
eye emojis,
and then wait for it, and then we give the announcement. Man.
We can talk about that. We can talk about some of our favorite copium lists right now. I'm actually full hopium on certain lists I want to talk about. Played a couple games with it.
Okay.
I could talk about how I suddenly don't think the Demacia Jordan Arms deck is as good as I thought it was. So I'll take my foot out of my mouth for that one. Let's see. What other things can we talk about?
Whoops. I mean, I think that's it. We could talk about the roadmap because we don't necessarily have like we didn't talk about it, right? Because it came out a day after we made the podcast, so we didn't talk about we talked about it, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast. So we could talk about the roadmap, and then we could have our tournament TED talk, saying we're gonna give an announcement, blah blah blah, XYZ. We got a little bit more information, and then we could talk about your decks.
Sure.
All right, sounds good to me. Let's do it. All right, so give me 1 second. Okay, I thought I had some water. Give me a second. Get some water real fast.
Did Scouts always beat Azurelia?
Scouts? Scouts. Yes.
Okay, because right now, Scouts is crushing Azurelia. And I wasn't sure if that was always the case or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Couldn't remember.
I think it's because there's always been a lot of challengers in Scouts. So they could just kill Irelia, they could just kill Isaiah or Sparring Student, which has always been like the main combo pieces. It's only the only time when Scouts is like hard into Azirelia is if they open like Azir, a buff, and Dias. Then it's like that's just but that's like hard for every deck to beat, right?
Right.
So, but they have to open exactly that.
I'm like actually thinking about. Never mind. Let's just start the podcast.
Oh man, well you know we'll be talking for days. All right, let me take another swig of water and then I'll start the podcast. Of course, do the countdown. So I'm gonna start it in 5, 4. Wait, should we include? Wait, we should have included that. Damn, I wish we'd included that part. The part where I was like, "Yo, Doey, what should we talk about?" Because that's a good intro. Is it not? Isn't that what we're going for?
I mean, we could just be like, "Hey, what you want to talk about today?" And we ping pong.
Okay.
So, which ones are you gonna say?
Damn.
Did you take notes on this?
Yeah.
All right. What did we say we were gonna talk about? I need to write it down.
Okay. The TED Talk.
Yeah.
Your decks.
Yeah.
and also, damn, what else did I write? Oh, yeah, the roadmap. How did I forget about that? I didn't even write that down. All right. Okay.
And then I'm sure something will come to our mind as well.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say the roadmap and the TED Talk, and you say, all right, yeah, I also want to talk about my decks, and if anything else comes to mind, and boom, just say it.
We want to talk about Runeterra life and all that stuff. Give positive vibes out into the world in that regard.
Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it before we talk about your decks.
Cool.
So, this is the chain that I'm thinking is roadmap, the tournament, Runeterra life, and then your deck slash.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. All right, so I'm starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on, Dory? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yo, so what you trying to talk about today, bro?
Today, I would like to talk about my experience with the Runeterra Life charity tournament. I was a guest commentator with Optima to support Gamers Outreach, so that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like to talk to you about kind of the early stages so far of this latter season, kind of decks I've been playing, what I've been running into a lot of. Okay. How about you? What do you want to talk about?
Okay. That sounds like some pretty fair topics you got there. So this week I bring to the table, obviously we have to talk about this roadmap, right? Because, I mean, if we didn't talk about the roadmap, I mean, would we even be a Runeterra podcast? Like, let's be honest here. And then also, last, certainly not least, we do have an announcement that for the tournaments that we're coming up with. We can't initially tell you guys 100%. I'm sorry. I apologize. Got to edge you guys a little bit. But we do have a big announcement coming up for April. Once we have more news, we'll be able to release everything that we have. But we will give you guys a little bit of probably like the main focus and maybe like, a little bit of details here and there. And that's what I have for this week.
All right, sounds good. So, why don't we just go ahead and get started with that roadmap?
Yes, sir.
Want to kind of walk us through it real quick, or shall I?
I do not have it open. Do you have it open?
Oh, I do. I got it open. I'm prepared, ready to go.
Oh wow!
See,
look at this guy.
I knew you were gonna bring it up. So, essentially, we got a schedule for when the major balance updates would be. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have a major balance update in March, and then again in April, as well as a expansion in May, big balance change in June, and seasonal tournaments kind of spread out throughout. So the next seasonal tournament looks like it's going to be in May, mm-hmm. and then the seasonal tournament after that going to be in July. So seasonal tournaments look a little more spread out. They also announced Runeterra champions. So if listeners might not know, Runeterra champions are essentially regionless, but they have their own unique deck building kind of cost. So I think they said Jhin could only be used in a deck that's units have skills.
Yes.
Right? So if it doesn't have a skill, it can't use it in a Jhin deck. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I kind of saw it coming, right? Because I think Runeterra kind of has this feel of like keeping you locked into playing champions a certain way, and we needed to kind of break that mold a little bit to be able to bring in more champions, right? Because at the moment, like a lot of people were kind of edged on for Void being part of the game, and spoiler alert, Bandle City instead, right? So we gotta find a way to bring in a lot more champions that are not initially a part of like one of the regions, one of the 10 regions that we have, but they're also part of the game, right? So that's what I think this is a chance to do. Is like they can bring on maybe like Kassadin, right? But he's not part of a region. He's like, oh, as long as you're, I don't know, like maybe he blocks spells. So you play him in a unit only deck or something like that, right? So and now that would be cool. That would be cool, right? Because then you could play him in any region. He'll probably be Demacian, right? You'll probably play him with a lot of Demacian units.
Okay.
I mean, I would guess because Demacia probably has like the best units, but more or less, the point I'm trying to make is like it allows for them to basically, it breaks the mold and it allows them to place more champions into the game, which is good. Overall, it's a good change, right?
Yeah, I'm tentatively excited for Runeterra champions. Like you said, it breaks the rules. I'm a rules guy. I like following the rules, and I hate when rules get broken. With that being said, it's kind of exciting, right? Because it could change the direction of Legend of Runeterra and open up a lot more options. And I think options are generally good.
Yep.
I have a concern that some specific combinations that people are going to make with these kind of different deck building restraints is going to break the game. Like, make something just outrageously busted, because now you can have card combos from maybe more region combinations than you otherwise would be able to.
True. That could be a concern.
So outside of that, I'm excited for it. But one announcement that I'm not terribly excited for is the announcement that seasonal tournaments are no longer going to be officially broadcasted by Riot Games.
Yeah. Yep. That was the huge one, right? That had Twitter in literal pitchforks and fires, right? Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still kind of like, damn, this is crazy, right? But I think the thinking behind it for Riot is that, I don't know, honestly. Even when I think about it now, it's like I don't necessarily know what they're thinking behind it is. But I'll try to think for a company right now. For like 2 seconds, I'll put on my company hat. I think their thinking behind it is like they're not making anything from it. Honestly, they're not gaining anything from like basically putting on putting Runeterra, like broadcasting the seasonals, right? They're not really gaining much. So they rather put all their energy into maybe like a Worlds kind of event than like broadcasting each seasonal, which I get it, right? Like I said, I had to put on my company hat. I had to take off the player gear for a second, right? Mm-hmm. And put on the company hat. It's a hard hat to put on sometimes, right? But when you think about it, they're not gaining anything. And at the end of the day, they're a company. I don't know what else to tell y'all.
Yeah, so I get that side of it, right? But I also kind of see the side where it's like you're going to get what you put into it. And if you stop putting anything into it, well, then you're certainly not going to get anything back.
That's true.
I think there's a fair compromise here. And I think that compromise is allow spectators in client for these matches on a 5-minute delay. If you could pull that off, I think the community, I think regular people, I think people like Swim, I think Master Runeterra, I think all the people who kind of co-cast, or I should say co-stream the tournament already, can pick up where Riot wants to put things down.
Facts.
And I think that would be a compromise I'm happy with. I think I would be reasonably satisfied. Mm-hmm. They did announce that we're going to have Worlds again, so I think that's a big win for the community.
Facts.
Just keeping that. It looks like we might end up trimming down one seasonals based off of the schedule before Worlds will be. Unclear whether or not that'll be the case because they've extended the season out until May 25th. In client, it's supposed to be in April. April 23rd, I think it's supposed to end. But it looks like they're extending it all the way until May. So it seems like we're going to trim down one seasonal, which I'm fine with as well. I just don't want Riot to give up on competitive Runeterra. I know there's not money in it. It's really hard for me to take the player hat off and put the company hat on just because I'm so invested in like loving the game. as from the player's perspective. So like I kind of get it. I'm happy that we're still gonna have seasonals and worlds. I'm not happy that it took them so long to make this announcement. The announcement of first they said we're gonna have to look at things, we might evolve the scene, we might change some things up, and they just copy and pasted everything.
Yeah.
And hit the delete button on the broadcast.
Yeah.
That feels weird that it took them so many months to decide that.
Yep.
But I mean, I go through. It's like a roller coaster for me. I'm being dramatic here. Where at first I was like, fine. I was like, oh, okay, they cut the broadcast, whatever. And then I was like, wait, that really sucks because now we're not going to know who these up and coming players are, and people won't get their kind of moment in the spotlight if they win. Like, if I win this next seasonal, no one's going to know.
Facts.
Which sucks, right? And then now I'm like back to feeling okay about it. And I really, really hope they allow in-game spectating just on a delay. And that way I think the community can kind of fully pick up where they left off. So ideally, that would be the replacement. I don't think that's going to happen. But that would be, perfect from my perspective.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you on that regards, to be honest. Like, I don't think I even thought about that. But that would be nice if we had some kind of way to spectate the seasonal matches, even if it was like on a 5, 10, 15, whatever. If it was on a delay, doesn't matter. But as long as we're able to at least spectate the matches, that'd be dope, honestly, because we could at least be able to present some of this content to people that want to ingest it, right? Because there are people that want to really see how Runeterra is at a high level, and there's only a few ways to really see Runeterra played at a high level, and seasonal is one of them. So like we're basically taking that whole chunk of content out of existence. So it is hard. It is a hard pill to swallow, right? It is very hard, but I think my initial thinkings of like Riot not making anything from it is probably the reason why they had to cut it, right? Because if they were making some kind of revenue or some kind of something from it, I'm pretty sure Riot would be like, no, you can't cut it because it's at least doing this, right? But I don't even think that's an argument for them. So it's kind of difficult. So I don't know. But moral of the story is that, I mean, when I initially saw that, I thought, all right, boom. So they're taking that away. All right, copy. So are they going to be at least giving something to grassroots tournaments? Like something, right? Like just give us a bone, like something, right? And then I read everything and we have absolutely nothing. So I was more upset at that. I was more upset that the grassroots tournaments from Runeterra, like they're basically taking away stuff from the competitive scene and not adding anything to it. That was what I was more upset about than the seasonal broadcast going away, to be honest, personally.
It would have been nice if they threw us, not us specifically, but like the competitive community, like a small little treat, like, hey, you didn't have this before, now you get to do this.
Exactly.
Even if it was cross shard being back, like thinking from our perspective, if we had cross shard back, we'd probably have, our time is not EU friendly, but we'd have a lot more players playing, I'm sure, if people from these other regions could play if they wanted to. So like, oh man, I really wish that we got something in exchange, but looks like it's up to us, right? It's up to the community to prove that we're here and we're worthwhile, and it's a task I'm willing to take up.
Yeah, I think I honestly, I did a lot more thinking, and I even I even was talking more to my girlfriend about it, about like why would Riot do? Because I was hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I was hurt. I was hurting when I looked at this roadmap and I didn't see nothing for grassroots tournaments. I was hurting, and I was just like, all right. I need to chill. I need to relax. So I'm like, all right, what can we do to at least allow, maybe not allow Riot to know we're here, but at least let them understand that, like, we might not be the majority, right? Because I feel like I say this all the time, is like, people like, say for instance, Doodoo Danunu is like top 1%. It's like 0.011% of like Runeterra players, right? Like, he's literally a god, honestly. So, like, I understand their thinking, right? Is like, we can't balance the game, or like, we can't make the game based off of like somebody like Doodoo Danuda's perspective, right? But I think, again, if they would have like given us something, bro, like just something.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of weird, right? So Riot has said that the majority of the player base, the time spent in Path of Champions is more time spent than in ranked. Normals, Gauntlet, and Expedition combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. But what has the competitive community been saying for the last year since they said the stream in Desert was valid? Almost a year ago. We're coming up on the anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
People have been shouting from the rooftops, hey, ranked sucks.
Yeah.
No wonder why people are playing Path of Champions. Because the competitive community, people like me, I don't like the best of one ladder.
Nope.
I don't like it. I've been saying this for a long time. Now I still play it. But maybe, perhaps this is why people are playing Path of Champions. It's not because they hate competitive Runeterra, they hate taking the game seriously. Maybe it's because the way to do it in game sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Now we can be full on hopium. All right, and the hopium. I just had to get that out there. But that out of the way, it is in our court. You were alluding to earlier. We were kind of making an announcement of an announcement. Mm-hmm. Just keep your eyes peeled for announcements concerning our tournaments in April. We have something brewing that we think is exciting. I don't know if we could give any more detail than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I mean we're working on something a little amazing for the competitive scene. We're trying our hardest to create a project that hopefully people will enjoy. It'll hopefully quench a lot of the thirst of some of the people in the competitive scene and be able to allow for people to actually gain a little bit more from like just playing in general. Because I feel like that's what we're trying. Like, I feel like us as a competitive scene, like, we have to. I feel like Riot taking away some of our toys, it kind of feels like I know you don't have kids though, but to me it felt like I just took a toy from my son, right? Like, I feel like they just took our like, because one of my son's favorite toys is like he loves books, right? So I feel like they just took my book away, right? They just took my book away. They didn't put me on timeout, right? They didn't say go on timeout, but they did take my book away, my favorite book. And I'm like, yo, Riot, Daddy Riot, what's going on? What did I do wrong?
Yeah. So I also want to take a moment to like shout out the competitive community, or at least like the people who are working their hardest to make Runeterra be, a great place. Yeah. I kind of mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to be a guest commentator on Optima's stream, or on Runeterra live stream, I should say, for to support Gamers Outreach. So it was a really cool tournament. He had the players, 12 invitees, draft champions, right? So they kind of did a snake draft where they would draft the champions just like you would on like a recess football team. We're just like, oh, I'm going to pick this guy, and then they go back and forth. Which kind of made like some interesting strategy in the draft phase, but it's also just a really fun tournament. He raised $5,400. The community raised $5,400 to support children in hospitals.
Wow.
Giving them access to gaming consoles and that kind of thing.
Wow.
while they're in the hospital for a long time. So big shout out to Runeterra Life, and big shout out to Optima, or his Twitch handle is only Optima, for kind of doing all that work to get that going.
Yeah, no, that's dope. I mean, Optima, I feel like has been doing a whole lot for the tournament, for the scene. A lot of people don't really know him because, like, honestly, I don't know why people don't know him.
I don't
Like, I was about to make up some excuse, but like, I don't know. I have no idea because he does a lot. He makes YouTube content. He has a podcast, and on top of that, he also runs the Runeterra Life tournaments and their website. So like, I actually just don't know why people don't know him. So
yeah. He certainly deserves, I feel like, a lot more credit than he's getting. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening, go follow him on Twitter. I believe it's at OnlyOptima. Mm-hmm. And follow him on Twitch, also OnlyOptima. And the Runeterra Life, his kind of community that he's building. Go follow them as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Nah, for real. And it's honestly, it's dope to see another creator like just create something from scratch, right? Because like we talk about mastering Runeterra all the time. I feel like we get them props. Honestly, we get them props all the time because like just seeing how they built up their whole like brand from scratch and made it what it is now is obviously like amazing. And then they're able to play Runeterra basically full time, which is obviously, I feel like, what everybody strives for, is to be able to play their main game full time, right? And to see somebody like Optima come into the scene and create a whole community and like try to get to that point is dope. Honestly, kudos to anything he does, bro. Like, I support him fully. So,
yep. Also, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to grow our tournament to what it is right now.
Yeah.
He kind of gave us some pretty critical advice and some tips in various regards that kind of let us ask the right questions to the right people to help us be where we are. So if it wasn't for him and all the work he's been doing for entire life, he knows where we would be.
Yeah, honestly. I think just being able to at least ask somebody like him those kind of questions that I was able to ask him was amazing. Honestly. And I like I said, I probably said it before, I'll say it again, I don't care. I appreciate him. Honestly, I do. I think I tell him this honestly. I think every chance I talk to Optima, I always say I appreciate him. And I always say he's underrated, bro, because he really is. Because he does so much for the community and people don't even realize. Like, I feel like more people know about Runeterra Life and they don't know it's Optima.
That's probably also true.
Like,
because I also feel like he likes to give other people the opportunity to like be in the spotlight before he puts himself in the spotlight.
Yeah.
But he's definitely deserving. So shout out to Optima. And I can't it's almost hard to believe they got over $5,000.
That's crazy
for charity. That is so cool.
That's yo, kudos. Honestly, that's amazing. Like, that's putting in the work right there. That's all I gotta say. That's like, damn. I don't got words. I'm speechless over here. Like, wow, that's crazy. That number alone is like, damn. Okay, all right. That's what we. All right.
Yeah, and also there were like quite a few people who volunteered like their time to play in the tournament. It was kind of the cumulative event. Was that tournament at the end, and so many people like donated their time to play in that tournament. We had a winner. One of my won. He brought J4 Braum. It's like a really sick tournament run he had, but he didn't win anything. Like, he won the tournament, but the tournament's for charity. So at least I don't think I'm wrong. He didn't like win prize money or anything. He was just doing it out of like the love of the game and charity and promoting the charity. So
yeah, I
mean, there's a few hours of his time and big props.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Honestly, it's dope that, first of all, it's dope that people like the game enough to at least play it not winning money, right? That shows dedication. Like, For real. That's dedication right there. That's first and foremost. And second of all, it also shows that they are willing to raise money for a cause, which is, again, just amazing, honestly. And I feel like that is another reason why I'll say it and I'll say it again. Yo, they might say that the competitive scene is like not the biggest like amount of the Runeterra players, but I personally feel like we have the biggest voices, and I feel like we need to start using those voices, right? We need to start shouting into dead air if we need to, right? So that people can know that we're here. Because I'm not saying Riot doesn't know we're here, but I think that it's more or less along the lines of like we need to start actually facilitating and maybe doing a little bit more for everybody in the Runeterra scene, not just like the competitive scene. We need to start like highlighting what other people do and such. But all right, let's get to your decks. So what's your spice for this week?
All right, so I'm gonna have to apologize to all the viewers of last week. Oh, this Bandle City Demacia route, the most busted thing ever. It needs a hot fix. It's free LP. I was literally at like 90% over a relatively high sample size when I said that. So I thought it was just busted. I think I was just high rolling the whole time. But now my win rate is well beyond normalized. But my current copium, I'm only a few games into testing, so take this with a grain of salt. I actually first discovered this deck casting the Runeterra Life tournament that we were just talking about.
Oh wow!
Because Grandpa Roji brought it.
Oh, gotta be some spice with his Roji, baby.
And he did pretty well. And then Zorig Dungu brought it to a Mastering Runeterra daily tournament. He came in second. And I was like, all right, this might be real.
Oh, wait. I know those decks. Hold on. Wait. I know those decks. Was it is it? No, I know it's not. It can't be Malphite Talia. If it was Malphite Talia,
that's standard.
That'd be too easy. Yeah, that'd be too easy. So it has to be some. It has to be. Is it the Galio? What was the other unit? Oh my god, I can't remember what the other champ was. I know it's definitely Galio, but I can't remember the other champ. Who's the other champ?
Yeah, Galio Shen. So
Galio Shen.
It plays like the old Shen Fiora, many of the same cards from the old Shen Fiora, but it goes a little bit bigger and has this like additional rally threat with the Galio level. I'm only a few games into testing, but I'm 3-0. And each game has felt really good.
Okay.
So this is now on my radar to something that might need to be exploring a little bit more in the future.
Okay.
I think if we get that deck in the hands of the masses, we might refine it a little bit here or there. I'm here for it so far.
Okay. So it's basically like you said, like the old Fiora Shen deck, but it has the top end of Galio, and then obviously the threat of you being able to like rally every freaking turn. Because who thought Galio was a good idea once he flips, right?
Yeah, his leveled form is really good, but you also get to play like the really good cards like the Petricite Broadwing now as well, which is like really solid. You have so many challenger units between the Fleet Feather Tracker, the Petricite Broadwing, the Orant Protege, and yeah, I guess that's all of them. But they really just like make things a lot easier for you. Oh, and the Screeching Dragon. How could I forget about that?
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say, isn't there also the Dragon too?
Yep, and the Screeching Dragon. So it's just like a really solid deck that kind of wants to win by slowly accruing the board advantage through combat. If you like combat-based decks, I mean, I would certainly recommend it. Seems like it's promising so far.
Okay. Definitely have to check that out. Honestly, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. Yo, I haven't been playing Runeterra at all. I've honestly been taking a break because I feel like and I'm not even trying to come at Riot or anything, but when they announced the roadmap, I was initially upset, right? Like I said, because like I said, I just wanted us to get something, and I was initially upset, but I'm not upset at the game. right? I'm not upset at Runeterra. So I was like, all right, I gotta chill. I gotta start playing some more Runeterra. And I honestly, I love Runeterra. Like, for real.
I know. And that's why it hurts, though, right? Because I like I said before, I was on like this roller coaster. Like, first, this isn't that bad. Wait, this. now I'm kind of back up. I'm like, maybe there's hope. But like, whenever I play Runeterra, I'm just like, man, I love this game. Unless there's TFs in the meta or Z Rebellion, I'm happy as it could be in terms of gameplay. And I just wish, like,
facts,
the masses knew. But hey, one day, right? Hopium. But as long as like core gameplay is still fun and there's still these tournaments to qualify for, I'm sure we'll be around.
Yeah. Nah. Well. To be honest, and this is what made me really realize what I personally think Riot is kind of like pushing us to do is that, and I probably said this on stream. I'm not sure, but Riot didn't necessarily encourage an esport for League, right? It didn't start as an esport. It started as like honestly a fun game mode. Like, that's what League was in the beginning. It was literally a Dota
clone.
Yeah, it was a Dota clone that basically it was more or less like just a game mode, honestly. And if anybody remembers when League first came out, they had like multiple. They had like I can't remember the name. The something scars. I kind of forgot the name of the 3v3 map, but they had like multiple modes and stuff, right? When League first came out, but I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting off topic. But the point I'm trying to make is that Riot didn't necessarily like support the League esports from the beginning, right? They didn't necessarily support it. They didn't necessarily support League being competitive. They didn't necessarily support League being like the cash cow that it is now. And they didn't necessarily support like everything with the competitive scene at all. They kind of let it build itself. And then they were like, oh, wait, we should probably invest something into this because this is probably going to make us money. And they did that. And it worked. Like, that's what happened. So us as the competitive scene kind of have to like take that on a little bit and kind of like give them a reason to invest into us. Because right now, they're kind of like, the reason why they're taking away stuff is because they don't necessarily have a reason to keep it around. That really what it comes down to.
I think that's pretty fair. Also, Riot Games, when League first started, is not the Riot Games that we have today. They were like two guys in a garage, I think, who accidentally made the most popular game on the planet. I'm like 99% sure that's how that went. And I mean, yeah, obviously they blew up. They're not gonna ever have the kind of cultural impact that League of Legends has, and like I get that, I understand that, but it would be really nice if we could kind of grow the community scene out from where we are until maybe eventually gets picked back up on Riot's radar. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's what I feel like, especially with events like what Runeterra Life is doing. And it was good that we highlighted them because events like that is what gets us on Riot's radar. Because they're thinking like, wait, if they're raising like $5,000, like we could do that. We could host like some kind of like event for all these competitive people to play in, and we could do that. You know, they start thinking that because they're like, oh wait, if they're doing it, why can't we? You know, because if the framework is already there, then it's kind of simple. But right now, Runeterra is still in its infancy, so it's kind of. I'm sorry, Mad Wilson's in here. I didn't mute the alerts. My bad, guys. But more or less, what I'm trying to say is like, because the framework isn't there, it's kind of difficult for Riot to really like be like, okay, we're gonna go all in on this. When, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, they're a company. Like, they're gonna do what is profitable for them. Like, they can go so much into debt, right? And I think right now Runeterra is kind of like not making them money, a lot of money. But it's probably making them money, but it's not making them a lot of money.
So do you think they made a mistake making the game so free to play?
Possibly. Maybe there needs to be like maybe at least another layer of like you have to pay for this kind of feel. Maybe like I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard for people like us to say that because we've been playing the game since the first game out, right? Mm-hmm. So we have everything. Like the people that are gonna have to pay money to Riot, it's not gonna be people that have been playing the game from the beginning,
right?
So it's kind of hard for me to assess that. But I think the game, even to people that don't play the game every single day, like people like us, still can get the cards pretty easily. Honestly, like I think
so.
Like even though I think there is a lot of cards now, like there's before, like last year, if you would have asked me, I probably would say nah, you can grind for all the cards. But now there's a lot of cards in the game. Like
true.
Maybe
it's not so easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards in the game. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the game is really free to play. Don't get me wrong. It is the most like other than like Master Duel for Yu-Gi-Oh! I think this is probably and to be honest, Runeterra is way more free to play than Master Duel. Because Master Duel is more like you have to use crystals to like fragment other cards to make, so it's kind of difficult. But in Runeterra, it's kind of like you just play, you get XP, you level up, you have a whole free to play system literally built into the game that you get free stuff for playing, and then on top of that, we also have a vault system. So basically, as long as you play the game, you will get everything. Like literally, like that's pretty much what they're saying. Like that's pretty much what they're saying. It's like as long as you play the game, you will literally get all the cards. And just like Yoda said in chat, there is over 80 champions in the game. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how free to play the game is, but I think it's still, even with there being over 80 champions in the game, I think it's still very free to play. And I think it will always be like that.
I wonder if that ended up hurting the game more than helping it. Kind of reflecting back on everything, I'm not sure. Obviously, we can never know. But I think this might be like a game that gets studied in the future. Like, why did Runeterra succeed or fail? And I think looking at the pricing model for this game specifically, because it's a card game, is very interesting. Like I've said before, like people watch less on Twitch because they could just play the deck that their favorite streamer is playing, so they don't have to watch it; they can just play it. So like, there's so many like weird things going on with this game, but not to sidebar us too much. Let's say Runeterra is a 9 out of 10 on the free-to-play scale, or an 8 out of 10. Let's say just an 8 out of 10 on the free-to-play scale. Where would you say Master Duel is?
Personally, I think Master Duel is probably like a 7.
So it's like pretty good?
Yeah. It's not that...
I might check it out. I might check it out then.
It's not that... To be honest, with Master Duel, you can make... Like, your first 2 decks, you can make. But... once you run out of crystals, and this is the problem, once you run out of crystals, which is basically the starting currency, and it kind of has the same like crafting system that every card game has. But once you run out of gems, it's very hard to make decks because you have to buy cards, and the cards let you buy secret packs, and the secret packs give you access to basically a card in a subset. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you want me,
I might just have to try it one day.
If you want me to explain it off stream, I could definitely explain it to you.
Okay.
But I think Yu-Gi-Oh is Master Duel specifically is probably like 7 out of 10. I'm probably pushing it only because to be honest, personally, I haven't spent any gems. To be honest, I still have max gems right now. I have 3 decks and I have max gems. So I haven't
That sounds good.
Yeah, so
that sounds good.
To be honest, I haven't really spent any gems. So that's why I'm saying I think it's probably like 7 out of 10. But Runeterra is probably like 8, probably like 8.5 out of 10, which is really good. Like if you want it, like it's just like what you said. Most of the time, people don't watch you normally unless you're playing like an extremely hard deck to play and they have no idea how to play it, or you're playing such an obscure deck that they've never seen it. Like that's the only 2 times people really watch you, because they're like, oh, I want to see what plays you make and how I'm playing the deck wrong, right? But if you're playing a deck like Silver Action that they could just go make, why would they watch you?
Yeah, and if you're coming up with some really cool deck, they can hit that copy deck code button and just open up their game, close your stream, and play. Anyway,
Exactly.
I feel like we've had the free-to-play conversation before, so I don't think we need to rehash it too much. I think I'm out of things to talk about. Anything pressing on your mind?
Oh, nah. Honestly, I got everything I needed to get out for the roadmap, and also for, I mean, we talked about your decks a little bit, and then I like the little talk about the free to play, because that does kind of wrap the bow on kind of like what the roadmap was about. Oh yeah, Yoda's also talking about power creep. If we, you know what, we could talk about that next week. Honestly, that's a topic we can talk about next week. Yoda,
See, this is we'll write that down. We're gonna talk about that next week. It's gonna be a problem next week.
Yeah,
unfortunately, we are running out of time this week, but we'll talk about that next week. Yoda. My hot take, I'll give you a little taste. It's not as bad as people think. Hot take, I know. Come riot at me, grab your pitchfork. I don't think it's as bad as people think.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Good show.
All right. So we'll end it off here, guys. Appreciate anybody that made it to the end. And of course, Mystic Shop Podcast Tournament every single Tuesday. We're changing the time on you guys. I apologize for anybody that watches. But we're changing the time from 8:30 to 7:30 now, so that me and Doey can get a little bit more sleep, right? We care about our sleep. I know you guys don't care about our sleep schedules, but we care about our sleep schedules, all right? And then podcast still going to be 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to try to keep it 8:30. I know everybody shows up 8:30. We're not here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, pretty sure. We know you love it. But more or less, we're going to try to keep that schedule as consistent as possible. And again, if anybody doesn't know, Mr. X Doey Nut stream. That's where we stream the tournament, and that's all for this week. Appreciate anybody that made it to the end. I think I already said that, and we'll see everybody next week. All right,
bye.
Peace out. All right, so that's
we did it
podcast. Also, Yoda, I do not think a lot of cards got power clipped. Honestly, I really don't. I personally think, I mean, we could talk. I wrote it down for us to talk about next week, which, to be honest, I think is a really good topic to talk about. I think power creep in Runeterra, to be honest, is literally them nerfing stuff. Like if they don't directly, literally nerf the card, it probably didn't get power creep, and it's probably like one card off of being viable as fuck. Honestly, like I can name so many champions that could be viable if they add one card into the game.
Yeah, the whole problem is like Bandle City is just a little too good at everything.
Yep.
But I don't think like it's busted. I think it's just a little bit better than anything else you're doing.
Yep, I agree.
Like Gnar doesn't feel like losing to Gnar to me doesn't feel as bad as losing to Azir Relia or TF Like I feel like I'm still playing the game. That Jade just have a really powerful card. But like it's like Gnar and Loping Telescope and just I think are really propping up the whole Bandle City region. Hit them all just a tiny little bit, and then boom, I think we're fine again.
Yoda says, in general, region wise, I think it stops old cards from being viable. So why would I play old cards when new ones are so good? I think, to be honest, and I might be maybe reading into this way too hard, but I think with the roadmap, Riot kind of announced that because of how they've initially thought about coming out with each region, they have to change the way they come out with like the next patches or the next expansions. And so with the the newer cards that are gonna come out, they're probably not gonna be as explosive or as like meta warping, probably as like some of the like some of new like whole new regions coming into the game, right? Because like a region coming into the game means like most of the time, this is what it means, is like it has to be something different, right? It has to be something like completely different that doesn't exist, which is exactly what Bandle City is. It's something like ridiculous. Like we didn't have Minimorph in the game. Like they created that for Bandle City. Like we didn't have a car like Gnar. Like they created that for Bandle City. We didn't have a lot of these tools that Bandle City adds to the game. And when you add certain concepts, like you literally take I think you have to power creep something. Like Vengeance literally got power crept just because it was 1 mana more than Minimorph. Like, and it does something completely different. So I don't it's hard. Honestly, it's a hard philosophy. It's kind of a hard thing to explain, but it's easier to look at it from a perspective of just like expansions are probably going to mean a lot less. That's how I looked at it personally. Mm-hmm. Because like it's not going to be regions. It's going to be like they're probably going to release some cards for like every region.
Unhelpful Yoda says adding new mechanics is a better idea than adding something like Papercraft Dragon. But like Papercraft Dragon is new attach. And like I don't think Action Gnar is a good deck. That's also a hot take. But I think a 5 mana.
It is so memey. I'm
not 5 unit mana for what Papercraft Dragon does, I think is fine. I would like to see the attached unit die too. I don't think it's cool that it gets to go back to the hand. But I mean, I'm not really strongly feeling about that either way. Although, granted, I mauled it on Twitter once, so I guess maybe I do care about it more than I think. But it's just a good card. It's 5 unit mana. It's allowed to be good. Yeah.
Honestly, I think Papercraft is probably. I think Papercraft is probably fine. I think
just Vengeance it, bro.
I think issues, and I think a lot of people talk about this, especially on Twitter. Issues that come up is like things that are hard to play against, right? Like Minimorph. Like obviously, you feel bad when big unit that you've been building up gets Minimorphed, right? Like. Or like when you're playing Lee Sin, you're like, I'm gonna put my Zenith Blade on my Lee Sin. I'm gonna end him now. And then he just mini-morphs you. You're like,
I'm willing to bet it was a community molding that made them decide that attached units, their effect isn't silenced. I'm like, that's my tinfoil hat conspiracy. Because people be like, why would I ever play Papercraft Dragon when they could just mini-morph it and get And Riot was like, we don't want to deal with this. And so they made it un-mini-morph.
Yeah.
Right? I think I'd be shocked if that community discourse around mini-morph wasn't at least part of the decision to do what they did.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because
on Fizz it's busted? Okay, that's probably true.
On Fizz it's busted? Yeah.
That's probably true. I think Fizz is probably the most breakable card.
Yeah, no, I mean, Fizz is really strong. He's always been really strong, but I don't know. Yeah, I honestly I agree with what you said, though. I think they definitely looked at like Minimorph and they were like, "Do we want to deal with this?"
People are gonna be so upset. They're like, "Attach is so bad," but now it's actually like quite good.
Yeah. Like, at least if you silence the unit, like, Hush doesn't work. Equinox obviously doesn't work. Minimorph doesn't really work. So, you kind of have to, like, deal with the unit. And then, keep dealing with the unit every time. Like whatever they attach to, whatever they attach, like you kind of have to deal with the unit itself, and you kind of like have to make them run out of good units. It's basically like how you play around attach. Like I don't know how else to really say it. Oh yeah, true. Frostbite does work, and Entomb does work as well. But you could literally Entomb it and then freaking use that 8-drop that just like kills landmarks.
That's a thing that people do now.
That's funny.
The Trundle Gnar deck. That's like a core combo of the deck. Buried in Ice and the that stairs.
Yeah, Buried in Ice. Mm-hmm.
Also, I was playing a Ziggs Gnar aggro deck, and I had a full wide board of units, and they played Buried in Ice, but they didn't have the that stairs. They just like did it to stall out. Ziggs popped out and got to see all those landmarks.
Oh wow!
Pop out, and I was just like, "Oh yeah!"
Wow!
However,
did so much damage.
You would think. However, he didn't actually do any damage.
What?
And I'm not sure if it's because he was placed all the way on the right, so he didn't see him. But I'm inclined to believe he's supposed to.
Yeah, he's definitely supposed to.
I'm not sure.
I think he's supposed to. That might have been bug.
Because apparently for Xerath, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Wow. So it didn't do any damage, for real?
Nope.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. Honestly,
I won anyway, because as Unhelpful Yoda says, now that he's leveled every time I attack, he's just dealing 2 extra damage. He's really good.
True.
Really good.
True.
But, yeah. So I think you might have to put Ziggs on the left against decks that potentially have it that stairs. Keep that in mind. Someone's going to win like one game because of that interaction. Out of the hundreds of thousands of games that get played, someone's going to win one game by having Ziggs on the left. I'm gonna be proud of that.
As long as it's not a seasonal win, right? Because those are the ones that matter.
People would lose their mind. Could you believe? People would be like, oh, they're so smart. I'll be like, yeah, I heard it from Doing Up first.
That's wild. Right. I'm definitely down to talk about some power creep. I'm to be honest, I wouldn't even mind bringing up some cards because it is a good conversation to have about power creep. And like me and Doing Up kind of alluded to already, I don't think it's as crazy as people might make it seem, but it's a good conversation to have, right? Because
yeah, I agree.
I mean, power creep is everywhere around us, especially in card games, because they kind of are forced, to be honest, to kind of power creep things. Essentially,
yeah, they have to keep pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah,
or else people get bored.
Exactly. So like
anyway.
they're kind of forced to do it. But all right, I'm gonna end it off here. Yo, Yoda, I always appreciate you coming by, bro. You always make me think. You always make me use this head. So I appreciate you. But I gotta go wash some dishes. And I gotta watch Levi. I don't know what you're doing, Doey. But I gotta be out, buddy.
All right. See you, man.